Hey there, fellow furries and crafters. Welcome back to my channel. If you're joining me for the first time today, I'm Blood Moon, a circle, and you can watch that build in the Blood Moon series. But today, we have a special project I'm working on for one of my friends that lives across the country. She wanted a fursuit build of her fursona, Jinx, the wolf. In the previous episodes, we completed the head for Jinx, but today, I'll be working on a tail. And I hope that it's a treat for all of you wolf and canine lovers out there. As a disclaimer, I am a new builder, and I started my first fursuit about 3 months ago, and this is now my second project, so I'll be showing you how I built Jinx's tail, and maybe some learning points that I discovered along the way. Well, wish me luck, and let's get started! In preparation for this project, I referenced Nefertiti's How to Make a Super Motion Canine Tail to get me started, as I wasn't super happy with the belt loop that I had for Blood Moon's tail build. I began this project by roughly sketching out the shape and patterns for the tail on a piece of poster board. I have done most of these builds so far off the cuff, and this project is really no different. I had a mental picture of what I was going to go for, but then I just drew it out, and I hope overall it works for Jinx. Once I had the template laid out, it was off to tracing it onto some 3-inch foam. But wait, I'm not supposed to trace the entire tail, as I only want the upper spine of the tail. Oh, time to make an adjustment. Alrighty. Oops. Well, that looks more like what I was going for. And now I decide to put a more or less a reference line of what center point looks like. That way I carve around it. At this point, I'm just carving out the foam to get a rough shape of the tail cut out, mainly focusing on the widest section on the top, because that will be the final shape and will house the tail's belt loop. To get the super motion tail wiggle, I'm supposed to cut slices in the foam to allow it to wiggle back and forth. I don't think I made my cuts deep enough. To create a strong base, I want to put the EVA foam from one of these floor mats, obviously from my Blood Moon build. What I'll be doing is taking the round piece, attaching it to the end of the tail, and taking that rectangular piece and hollowing out a slot maybe an inch away from the base of the tail and sandwiching it in between to create a nice sturdy base for the belt. Now it's time to start cutting out the pattern pieces. Once I have all the pattern pieces cut out, I orient them onto the fur with the fur direction in mind, as I want the long bits of fur pointing towards the tip and bottom of the tail, and then I cut the pattern out using a razor blade, only pressing hard enough to just break through the backing to ensure that I don't cut the tips of the fur off. That would be so sad. I also leave just about 1/8 of an inch of a seam allowance and then flip the pattern over to the opposite side and mark the pieces accordingly with either an A or B or L and R for left and right. I then repeat this process for all the other pattern pieces. I began by clipping the left and right pieces together, but realized after I was done, I should probably do one side at a time. So I began clipping and sewing and repeating the process over and over until I completed each side. I'm certain one of these days I'll realize I can actually sew up on a desk or a tabletop. I think I have a bad habit of working ahead of the camera, which, in this case, all I did was stuff the foam right into the sleeve of the tail that I made, and then I put a little bit of polyfill down in the bottom part of the tail. and with a pair of scissors and razor blade, I cut a hole into the 3-inch foam to insert the square or rectangular EVA foam into the base. Once I could ensure that the EVA foam would work within the foam base, I used it as a template on some Minky so that I can cut it out and have a nice little sleeve for the belt to run through. The mink is kind of slippery material, so I make sure to pin it very good along the edge, so you'll see me have a lot of excess over here. That way, I can help pull it and push it through the machine. Once the Minky liner is complete, I put it and the EVA foam sleeve into the slot of the base. I made sure to leave extra on either side of the belt liner, that way I could trim it off as needed. At this point, I just wanted to ensure that the left and right sides both aligned pretty evenly, so I used the red and the blue as kind of reference points for where the belt loop should run through. And overall, I'm just now making a slot in the fur so that I can run it through and then hand stitch it where it needs to be. When determining how far back I needed to make the slot in the fur, I also took into account the thickness of the EVA foam at the very base, since it was not yet glued in. And I'm okay with elapsing at how long it takes me to knot the end of this thread. And I know I should be using a different colored thread other than white, but I didn't. Finally, I get around to gluing the EVA foam onto the base of the tail. I previously learned that the black side adheres to the hot glue much better than the gray side. Now I take a piece of pink minky and get about the right size, that way I can stitch it into place. And you guys luck out because halfway through the recording, the GoPro shuts off due to overheat or low battery. And there we have it, crafters. We've successfully made a DIY tail for Jinx the Wolf. It was a fun and easy project, and it will enhance the wolf costume. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and feel inspired to get creative with your own DIY creations. Well, we've gone from head to tail, and now we need to move on to paws. Well, thank you again for watching, and please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Wait, I need to interject. I don't think we're going to keep these paws. They just didn't turn out quite right. But I needed to get one under my belt. Thank you again. Have a good one.